the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships, the Registrar, University Librarian, the Provost, College of Medicine, Dean, Faculty of Economics, Deans of other faculties, the Postgraduate School and of Students, Directors of Institutes and Centers, Heads of Departments, Members of the University Senate, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The 439th in the University of Ibadan Inaugural Lecture Series will be delivered this evening by Professor Olanrewaju Olaniyan of the Department of Economics on behalf of the Faculty of Economics. Born on 27 June 1967 to the family of Chief Deacon Emmanuel Olaniyan of blessed memory and Mrs. Anna Oyefunke Olaniyan Niabionon, the young Olaniyan attended St. Paul African Church Primary School, Landate, in Oyo State, between 1972 and 1977. For his secondary education, he attended Obaseku High School, Eruwa, from 1977 to 1979, and later that year enrolled at Loyola College, Ibadan, in continuation of his secondary education, which he completed successfully in 1982. He proceeded to the then Oyo State College of Arts and Science, Ile-Ife, in the state of Osun for his GCA levels from 1982 to 1984. He also attended the Polytechnic Ibadan, Ire Satellite Campus, in 1984, and graduated with a Nigerian Certificate of Education, NC Technical, Business Option in 1987. He worked as a class teacher at Community Grammar School, Elewura, Challenge, Ibadan, between 1987 and 1988. In furtherance of his higher education, the then Mr. Olaniyan gained admission to the Premier University, the University of Ibadan, to study for a Bachelor of Education in Educational Management and Economics in 1988. He graduated with a first-class honors in 1991. He participated in the National Youth Service Corps Scheme, NYSC, during which he served in Benue State from 1991 to 1992, and registered for his second degree program the same year. He obtained an MSc in the Department of Economics in 1994. He had a brief stint as research assistant in the Department of Economics from May 1993 till June 1994, and as a research fellow at the Center for Economics and Allied Research, CRUI, Ibadan, from June 1994 to July 1995. Thereafter, he commenced his brilliant academic career, first as assistant lecturer in the Department of Economics, Ogun State University, Agoiwoye, now Olabisi Onabanjo University, from July 1995. He registered for his PhD in economics the same year at the University of Ibadan, which he completed in year 2000. He joined the services of our highly regarded Department of Economics as assistant lecturer in June 1996. He rose rapidly through the ranks by promotion to the ranks of lecturer grade 2 with effect from 1st October 1999, lecturer grade 1 with effect from 1st October 2002, and senior lecturer with effect from 1st October 2012. As a high flyer, he was promoted to the grade of professor with effect from 1st October 2012. He has since published extensively in reputable national and international journals and books with 134 publications to his credit. As mentor to his students, he has till date successfully supervised several undergraduate and MSc projects, 1 MPhil, as well as 10 PhD theses. And currently is supervising 3 PhD students. Within this university, he has had extensive administrative exposure, and he has served in different capacities, including but not limited to being the departmental exams coordinator for the Department of Economics from 2001 to 2003, director of the MBA program 2008 to 2013, served in undergraduate faculty of the Social Sciences 2003 to 2005, chairman faculty planning committee 2003 till 2005, chairman of the faculty consultancy committee 2011 to 2016. He was producer of a radio program, Sustainable Development Platform, a 30-minute radio program focusing on sustainable development issues on Diamond Radio, the University of Ibadan Community Radio, from July to December 2012. He served as Deputy Coordinator, Development Practice Program, the Center for Sustainable Development, CESDEV, from 2010 to 2012, and Coordinator of the program between 2012 and 2015. He also served as Sub-Dean Center for Sustainable Development, 2012 to 2015. He was appointed the second substantive director of the Center for Sustainable Development with effect from January 2016, a position he still occupies. Outside this university, Professor Olaniyan has been member of the Academic Steering Committee, the Global Association of Master of Development Practice Programs, Columbia University in the city of New York. He has served as external examiner to many universities, including Olabisi Onabanjo University Akoiwoye, Babcock University Lishan Remo, and Crescent University Abeokuta, Lagos State University Janikin. He was senior associate member, St. Antonius College, the University of Oxford, Oxford, United Kingdom, when he was a visiting research scholar to the university, and scholar to Cornell University, Ithaca, New York, USA, as well as University of Hawaii, USA, at different times. He has prepared many policy impact reports for the government of Nigeria and others, and has received research grants from many organizations and agencies, including the World Bank, the World Health Organization, the Federal Ministry of Finance, and the National Poverty Eradication Program, NAPEP, in Nigeria. Our inaugural lecture this evening is a member of many scientific associations, such as being a life member, Nigerian Economic Society, member, International Union for the Scientific Study of Population, the Union for African Population Studies, as well as International Health Economics Association and the International Sustainable Development Research Society. He is currently the chairman, editorial board, African Journal of Sustainable Development. Professor Olanrewaju Olaniyan is happily married to Adefunke Aderoju Olaniyan, and the marriage is blessed with successful children. It's now my pleasure to call on Professor Olaniyan to deliver his lecture titled Mothers and Fathers, Daughters and Sons, the Peculiar and Awkward Economics of the Family. Professor Olaniyan.
The Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research, Innovation and Strategic Partnerships, Registrar, Librarian, Provost of the College of Medicine, Dean of the Faculty of Economics, Dean of the Postgraduate School, Deans of other faculties and of students, Directors of institutes, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I thank God Almighty who has made this day possible. It is with a deep sense of humility and honor that I stand before this great audience to deliver the 439th inaugural lecture of the University of Ibadan and the 13th lecture for the 2017-2018 session. When Professor Ojetunji Aboyade delivered the first inaugural lecture from the Department of Economics, and incidentally, also the first from Faculty of the Social Sciences on 3rd May 1973, I was just in primary 2. I never would have imagined that I would be here today to present the 12th inaugural lecture on behalf of our department. And the first lecture on behalf of the Faculty of Economics. But it is on the soldier of great economists, many of whom I cannot mention here, that I stand to present this lecture. I must appreciate the former Dean of Faculty of the Social Sciences, Professor S.H. Jegede, Dean Faculty of Economics, and my head of department, Professor Wale Ogunkola, who nominated me on behalf of the faculty and department respectively. Every child has a dream of what he wants to become in life. My ambition early in life was to be a primary school teacher. When I was in the final year of secondary school, I made up my mind to become a history teacher because history was my favorite subject at the time. Economics was never a subject I really fancied. I was an art subject, and proudly so. So I never bothered myself with many other non-art subjects. My impression of economics was clearly revealed in my WASC O-level result, which I sat for in May-June 1982. I can confidently tell you that I had an F9 grade in economics. I did A-levels in CRS, Yoruba, and history, and was able to obtain admission to read language arts in University of Ibadan in 1984 with an awaiting GCE O-level result. I passed all required subjects and now with economics, but my English language subject was withheld by WAEC, and I stayed at home waiting for the result to be released. The result was eventually released. I came to the University of Ibadan with my English language result, only to be told that matriculation ceremony took place 2 weeks earlier. In order not to stay at home for a whole year, I went to the Polytechnic Ibadan, Iri Satellite Campus, to seek admission into any available course. I was admitted for NC Business Studies, the only course whose admission quota was yet to be filled. This led to the beginning of my adventure into economics. My NC program gave me 2 teaching subjects, economics and business management. One of our teachers, Mr. Laka, a vibrant young man then, was one of the best teachers I'd ever known. His lectures aroused my interest in economics. I later completed the course and got employed as class teacher at Community Grammar School, Elewura Challenge Ibadan, as economics and accounting teacher. In 1987, I had all I wanted. I wanted to become a teacher. I was already one with my NC certificate. One day, I tried to attend a meeting of the Nigerian Union of Teachers in my secondary school, and I was told I could not attend the meeting because the meeting was for NUT graduate teachers. Those who had minimum of first degree, I was only an NC graduate. I got angry, and the next day, I was at the University of Ibadan to inquire I could get my degree, especially when I believed that I was more of an effective teacher than some of those I saw at the meeting. I came to the University of Ibadan and found that there was a course called Teacher Education. I then requested to see the dean of the faculty. The secretary prevented me when I told him my mission. He directed me to the faculty officer, who incidentally was Mrs. Omotayo Ekotun. After checking my credentials and listening to me, she advised that I should apply for educational management instead of teacher education, as the former could be more lucrative. Although I argued I wanted to be a teacher, she advised I could also become a teacher with a degree in educational management. I picked the direct entry form, applied for educational management, and was given admission. My motive was to finish the degree and move back to the secondary school so that I would be able to attend the meeting of NUT graduate teachers. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, unfortunately till date, I have never been able to attend any NUT graduate teachers meeting. I later applied to study Masters in Educational Management in the University of Ibadan in 1992 and asked 2 of my friends to submit the completed form at the admission office of the postgraduate school. The 2 gentlemen, now Dr. Kola Olaiwola and Professor Benga Fashanu, conspired against me and changed the application from educational management to economics without my knowledge. I only became aware after the admission had been given. That was how I entered into core economics discipline. I eventually started my career as a macroeconomist, and my PhD thesis was supervised by one of the best macroeconomists in the country, Professor Sam Olofin. Upon graduation, however, I shifted to a different area of economics, microeconomics and economics of human resources, which were my first love in economics because of their applications to the African societies. My economic professors in the university inspired me to practice economics with application. Worthy of specific mention in this regard are Emeritus Professor Ejide, Professors Shoibo, Ogumeke, and Adenikichu. The more I moved into microeconomic analysis, the more excited I became at the level of impact I could make on my society. I eventually narrowed down my research to economic analysis of different stages of the human life. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, we were all born into specific families, grew up within families, married into families to start our respective families. Many marriages only went on because an approval was given by at least one member of the family for the new couple to start their own families. Some will make a living working for family businesses. Some will engage in non-market activities in their own families, either as housewives or house husbands. Many will die. When many die, the family will also gather around them to approve a befitting burial. We can never run away from families. I grew up in a loving family. This is a special family where everybody was treated with respect and boundaries of everyone was known. My father was the president, my mother the vice president, and the daughters and sons were House of Assembly members. Our family had expectations, and the objective was to satisfy our utilities. The resources were always not enough, and our parents had to make choices at every point in time. There were carrots and sticks to reward every action. The basis of every action was to achieve specific goals within the limited resources available. Choice became inevitable. Every decision was about making choices, given limited means. These are economic decisions. Every decision in our family became an economic decision. This is the basic economic problem to be solved by everybody. Human wants are many and unlimited, but resources to satisfy them are scarce and limited. A scale of preference is thus determined, consciously or unconsciously, and the item on the highest point is chosen based on the expected benefits from that choice. Every choice involves cost, and the main cost of the chosen option is the alternative foregone, often referred to as opportunity cost. This is the thesis of economics. Incidentally, economics is one of the most misunderstood disciplines in the world. People often link economics with money. While this might be correct in certain instances, economics is not actually explicitly about money, as misunderstood by many. You will never find a definition relating economics to money. Economics is about choice and trade. Every economist knows that economics is a conceptual framework that is helpful anytime a choice is made, be it a choice of good, service, action, or resource. Every decision based on scarcity and choice is an economic decision. When families therefore take decisions based on these principles, they are making economic decisions. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, in this lecture, I will illustrate how weird and strange economics of the family can be, using snapshots from my own research, and in the process share with you where I came from intellectually, how far I have gone, and where I would like to go with my research agenda in the years to come. In doing this, I will share with you the way economists think and how they go about uncovering the pathways that shape behavior. The popularity of economics of the family started with the publication of Gary Becker's 1981 book, a treatise on the family, who argues that neoclassical economics can be applied to family setting. To an economist, family could be complicated and awkward in outlook and described from different economic points of view according to the orientation of the economist concerned. According to Beckstrom, family is to a labor economist or an industrial organization economist like a little factory. To a bargaining theorist, a husband and wife are two agents in relation of bilateral monopoly. To an urban economist or public choice theorist, a family looks like a little city or perhaps a little club. To a welfare economist, a family is an association of benevolently interrelated individuals. Each of these analogies suggests useful ways in which standard tools of economics can aid in understanding the workings of a family. Mothers and fathers. Motherhood is mostly a fact, while fatherhood is a matter of belief. Everybody knows who the mother of a child is, but fathers only believe because you are told. Why not in all cases? Because becoming mothers and fathers often comes with membership of a family. The relationship between mothers and fathers often come with marriage. Marriage is basically an economic decision. This is because decisions about courtship, marriage, sex, childbearing, and child rearing are often subject to rational choice analysis. Individuals make these choices after due consideration of cost and benefits of alternative courses of action. An individual will only go into marriage if the benefits outweighs the costs. Economics of marriage and divorce. Marriage is perhaps the single most important economic transaction and social transition in the lives of young people. There are controversies on whether economic or non-economic gains are predominant in the demand for girlfriends, demand for boyfriends, demand for partners or spouses. Some of them are highlighted in this lecture. Division of labor and specialization within marriage. Marriage can be viewed as a relationship between partners in business. Within marriage, couples are not just business partners, where partners work together. They are also trading partners who exchange services in the form of household activities. Over the years, Traditional roles have been assigned to members of the families, whether as husbands or wives or children. One person cannot do everything, hence the need for division of labor. The traditional role emphasized speciality and who is best suited to do what within the household. Marriage promotes a division of labor, through which each party assumes the role he or she does best, or which is most productive for the family unit. Incidentally, while division of labor can be good, we should be careful about how it is done. David Ricardo, through the theory of comparative advantage, argues that it is not efficient to perform all tasks that you are good at. One should only perform the tasks for which one is relatively better compared with other tasks. Comparative advantage is the basis for contemporary trade and exchange, which is the bedrock of economics and incidentally marriages. The division of labor among spouses without explicit consideration of comparative advantage leads to less efficient outcomes. Recent experiences have shown that individuals use tradition to define comparative advantage without necessarily considering the peculiar circumstances of the marriage. Blind utilization of division of labor within the family without consideration of comparative advantage of each member could be bad economics. The problem of many marriages is that they have become examples of bad division of labor and specialization. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the current awkward realities of marriage are such that the amount of time spent in household production has declined drastically. Added to this is the change in the structure of the roles of husbands and wives within the house. It is becoming difficult to assign specific roles to men and women within the family. Many women are now involved in labor market activities, and we are beginning to see increase in house husbands as against housewives. Traditional roles for husbands and wives, therefore, conflict with economic principles for success. Risk pooling and insurance. Marriage is seen as insurance for some people. Partners in marriage pool their resources together to mitigate against all kinds of risk, including income risk, health risk, and old age risk. Being together in marriage is regarded as insurance against promiscuity. Children are also seen as old age insurance. However, insurance market to economics is often fraught with two main economic issues. These are moral hazard and adverse selection. Moral hazard. Human beings are faced with hazard all the time, which could be moral or natural. Moral hazard is preventable, while natural hazard is due to act of God and is not always preventable. There is moral hazard from the insurance that marriage certificate offers to married couples. In many instances, the marriage certificate is often seen as a way of capturing the other partner so that he stays in the marriage whatever happens. Spouses after wedding therefore feel a level of comfort that was absent before marriage. Spouses can stop caring for many issues that led to marriage and feel that they no longer have to work on their relationship and love as they used to do during dating. After all, they say, love covereth all sins. And the marriage certificate constrains the partner to stay within marriage. In addition, there is the belief that once in marriage, the partners try to refrain from divorce and separation, as this will lead to him or her to incur a new cost of search, screening, and selection that come with a new partner. Incidentally, when the cost of search for new partner is less than the satisfaction within marriage, separation or divorce is inevitable. Adverse selection. Economics of spouse selection. The framework of spouse selection in economics is such that everyone looks for the best mate, subject to the restriction imposed by the marriage market, especially concerning uncertainty in selecting a spouse and search costs. An important concept in this theory is gains to marriage, which depends on the union as well as on the opportunities implied by the marriage market. The fact is that resources, including potential good husbands and wives, are scarce. Price depends on quantity and quality of available prospective spouses. With limited quality spouses, competition is unavoidable. In fact, competition for spouse can at times be fierce, just like it is for food, drink, and shelter. Individuals thus choose their boyfriends or girlfriends from a large and competitive market. For marriage to occur, it must enable couples to create an economic surplus over and above what can be secured from staying single. This means expected benefits must outweigh expected costs. Unfortunately, many marriages do not follow economic principles of considering costs and benefits of alternative courses of action. Rather, individuals marry for love, instead of marrying someone whose tastes agree with and whose skills complement their own. One determinant of marital relationship is sexual attraction, which triggers some initial amount of blind trust. This is the basis of the popular saying, love is blind. When individuals go beyond this blind trust and apply economic decision-making parameters in taking marriage decisions, it does not controvert the fact that love is blind. It has only added another phrase that lovers must open their eyes wide in taking the decisions. The impact of this is that family is characterized by market for spouse services. There could be market for wife services as well as market for husband services. The market theory of marriage is therefore an expansion of labor economics. It views husband and wives as performing a variety of labor services for each other in the framework of marriage or sexual cohabitation. One of the basic issues for the sustainability of the family is who to have sex with. And this is one of the most important choices individuals face. Sex is demanded for satisfaction and in some cases for procreation. They hold commanding heights of the relationship, and the children from such relationship are kept by the mothers and fathers for their personal satisfaction. Whether within marriage or not, the economics is that sex is transactional, and someone is getting something out of it. Although sex is a unique commodity, it must still obey market principles of supply and demand. In fact, prostitution exists as a balance between supply of available sexual workers and the demand for sexual workers to provide the sex acts. This is the issue of commodification of sex. There is a market for sex where both demand and supply of the activity lead to specific equilibrium. If supply and demand are equal and equilibrium is reached, there will be no market for prostitution. However, a disequilibrium in the market leads to a thriving sex market, which no authority has been able to eradicate. It is known in economics that you cannot kill a market where there is demand. At best, you move the transaction from normal market to the black market. As families evolve, the idea has been that sex should be within the family setting. Even within families, couples weigh their costs and benefits most of the time before deciding on the possibilities of sex. In fact, the Yoruba says, Ishiru Lokojido. This is, in some cases, dependent on the bargaining structure of the couples. The bargaining structure is dependent on who the economic head of the family is, rather than the traditional head. Hence, sexual acts within the family always tend towards the preference of the economic head of the family. In many countries, including Nigeria, there is a growing incidence of individuals who want to remain single, but still want to enjoy the satisfaction that sex offers. Single parenthood for various reasons is increasing, and many of the cases are because of economics, especially when such mothers or fathers are still within the biological productive years. This is the economic argument for the increasing prevalence of how baby mamas and baby papas come into focus. Baby mamas and baby papas are those who by choice believe in single-parent family and only demand for sex as a commodity, especially when they do not want to be in marriage and do not want to be involved in prostitution. They therefore demand sex, not just from sex workers, but also from other consenting adults. Even when cash is not paid, enormous gifts are exchanged. This often happens when educated young women typically believe that they have no economic need to marry, as this will compromise them fulfilling promising careers if they were to become wives. Such women or men only seek to get a man or woman who will satisfy this biological need purely from economic principles. This is also related to the issue of sugar mummies, sugar daddies, and aristos. While the objective in the baby mama and baby papa concept is to have children, the objective of sugar mommy and sugar daddy is emotional comfort and sex. In all cases, payments are made either in cash or in kind. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the above is to show the importance of economics in marriage and family decisions. Families are facing uncertain futures. Every good within home production that initially formed the basis for marriage can now be procured in the markets. Household chores can be procured from the market. Love and sex can also be purchased. While it might be difficult to analyze love, we can analyze sex. The main product of marriage, which are children, are also being procured in the market without recourse to marriage or even a partner. Incidentally, many people are finding it difficult to come to the awkward realities that spousal labor is part of economic transaction process. Daughters and sons. Daughters and sons, mothers and fathers, are at the center of sustainable development and will be influential to the realization of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. There can be no sustainability without children. In fact, children are the essence of sustainability in any economy. Children in families are explicit outcomes of utility maximization of parents, subject to various constraints, including income, time, and other resource constraints. Children are the most important products of the family. Families and population dynamics. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the sustainability of the family is dependent on the nature and structure of the fertility behavior. Fertility is defined as the number of live births an average woman is likely to have in her lifetime. It is an indicator of not just population growth, but also highly correlated with welfare in many countries. Although fertility in most developed countries had fallen well below replacement level of 2.1 children per woman, this has not happened in many African countries. Nigeria is has one of the highest fertility rates in the world, and this is a major factor accounting for the country's high population growth. Fertility, which was 6 children per woman in 1990, only reduced marginally to 5.8 in 2016. As at 2017, Nigeria was the 7th most populated country in the world and is still growing rapidly. By 2030, the country will be the 3rd most populated country in the world with a population of about 450 million. Transition from high fertility rate to low fertility rates in Nigeria is regarded to be one of the slowest in the world. The subsisting high fertility rate among women implies that policies meant to reduce fertility in the country have had minimal impact, as there has been no substantial decline in fertility levels since 1950. The nature of fertility in Nigeria also indicates wide disparities between states. While an average woman in Jigawa State will have about 9 children during her productive years, an average Ekiti woman will have 4, and a woman from Rivers State will have 3. This has implications for population growth in these states, and in the next 30 years, the geographical population of the country will change dramatically, with more than 60% of the population within the states with high fertility rates. Furthermore, it has implications on the possibility of harnessing demographic dividends by Nigeria. Fertility and demand for children. Economics of fertility focuses on the demand for children and supply of childbirths. Economic theory provides a generic but distinct approach to analyzing relevant motives and outcomes of fertility behavior. This is because parental fertility decisions have strong economic dimensions. Pregnancy, childbirth, and childbearing all have strong impact on an average family's financial situation, so that the desire to do so almost inevitably competes with many other needs and wants of potential mothers and fathers. Families therefore make decisions that are economically feasible. Furthermore, the presence or absence of children affects financial choices of parents. During child-rearing period, mothers and fathers are not only faced with the monetary expenses on each of their children's cost of living, they are also faced with the opportunity cost of income forgone through the time spent on childcare. For some parents, this is a worthwhile investment option on the assumption that children will make enormous future contribution in the lifetime income of their parents. In many families, the largest component of cost is the cost of children, both pecuniary and non-pecuniary. If parents find that welfare of their children will be taken care of by another person, thereby shifting this cost to other people, it leads to free rider behavior and hence higher fertility. There are many factors determining the demand for children. These include, among others, income of the parents, level of educational attainment, maternal labor supply, and child mortality. The relationship between the demand for children and income depends on the type of goods that children are. If children are viewed as normal goods, then the higher the income, the higher the number of children that an average family will demand for. As parents become richer, income increases beyond a threshold. Children therefore become inferior goods, satisfying the quality-quantity trade-off in children. In this wise, higher income parents tend to invest more in the quality of their children and not the quantity. I think the Yoruba says omobere. However, more educated women are likely to supply labor in the labor market, thereby increasing their earning opportunities. Because of this, the opportunity cost of pregnancy, childbirth, and child rearing becomes high, leading to a reduction in the supply of childbirths. Also, the higher the child mortality rate, the higher the fertility, and this is traced to anticipatory and replacement effects of child mortality. Investment in human capital of children. Investment in human capital of children. The Sustainable Development Goals emphasize investment in children. The family is key to the achievement of the SDGs. In fact, we have tried in many of our studies to investigate the effect of family fundamentals on children's educational achievement and attainment. This includes the effects of parental education, income, and family structure on child schooling. Schooling choice. One of the main investments in the life of children is the investment in formal schooling. The literature is replete with how and why parents choose the types of schools for their sons and daughters. Recent experiences around the world have shown differential preference for private schools over public schools and vice versa. Quality time and other resources are directed at this. One of the main studies we did in Lagos State, myself, Professor Adedeji, and Professor Adenikeju, as well as Tuli et al., provided some insights into the nature and context of private schools serving low-income families. The study has revealed that there is a high tendency of parents to choose private schools in Nigeria, with many of them serving not just the need of middle and high-income families, but also those of the low-income families. Of all the schools that we find in Lagos State, 71% were found to be private, with more unregistered private schools than government schools and registered schools together. It was estimated that 33% of school children were enrolled in private or registered schools, and 75% in private schools in general. Our study found that parents choose private schools because teaching activities was considerably higher in private than government schools. One basic issue for private schools serving low-income families is the low infrastructure in such schools. Many schools operate in uncompleted buildings and/or buildings without adequate infrastructure. While government has always used this as a reason for closing down such schools, parents continue to patronize them. According to Olaniyan and others, one of the parents, when asked in a focus group discussion why she patronized a school with poor housing infrastructure, argued, "You are making a wrong comparison. You are comparing the low-income private school to the government school that is down the road and conclude that that school is bad. Why don't you compare the school with our own house where we stay? That school structure that you say is bad is actually better than the house we live in." In some situations, the context of the poor is wrongly analyzed because we are making wrong conclusions, and education is not demanded out of the context of other realities that are faced by parents. In fact, our study indicates that many children patronizing such schools perform better in examination than those attending government schools. Determinants of child schooling. The factors that determine child schooling can be classified broadly into two: demand side and supply side factors. The impact of the family on child schooling is transmitted through the demand side. One of our studies, Olaniyan 2011, found that the importance of parents' education to child schooling cannot be overemphasized. Parents' education increases the probability of the children being enrolled in schools on time and without delay. Findings from some of our studies actually indicate that mothers' educational attainment was more important for daughters than fathers' education, while fathers' education was more important for sons than for daughters. We also found that parental effort is positively and significantly related to achievement in Nigerian schools. The highest impact is with private schools, and the lowest impact lies with pupils attending government schools. In all schools, however, the positive impact grows with intensity of parental efforts for all categories of students. The human capital development of children could also be different by gender. There is a bias against female enrollment in Nigeria. One of our studies revealed that girls are 6% points less likely to be enrolled in schools compared to Nigeria. Reasons adduced for this are a combination of demand side and supply side factors. In terms of the latter, most female drops out after completing a level of education, primary or post-primary, to enter marital life. However, it is interesting to note that in our studies in Lagos State, we find no bias against female students in private schools, even when the schools are for the low-income families. This is surprising, given the fact that low-income families might be tempted to withdraw their children for certain days to assist in some economic activities. This might be due to the fact that parents pay school fees in the private schools while government schools are free. As a result, the opportunity cost of absenteeism is higher to parents of pupils attending private schools, and they are thus reluctant to make their children absent from school. The peculiar and awkward economics of the family. One of the gains of the family is that members spend on one another in altruistic ways. This can be done through transfers from surplus units to deficit units of the family. One of the main areas of intervention by economists is in the area of intra- and inter-household allocation of resources. This includes the amount of family resources allocated to children. The nature of these resources and the timing of their distribution influence the human capital outcomes of children in the family. It is important to note that it is not all giving that are altruistic. While giving can be altruistic, where there is no expectation of rewards, gift can also be for reciprocity, in which gift elicits another gift. Two gentlemen who were Nobel Prize winners in economics at different periods. James Buchanan had his Nobel Prize in 1986, and Gary Becker had his Nobel Prize in economics in 1992. The two of them have proposed theories to explain uncertain effects of altruism. Buchanan focused on the dilemma of the Good Samaritan, while Becker discussed the issue of the rotten kid theorem. Buchanan found motivation in the biblical story of a man who was attacked by armed robbers between Jerusalem and Samaria and left to die, but who a Samaritan altruist pitied and assisted. In this case, the utility function of the Samaritan depends on the happiness of the man attacked by the robbers. The Good Samaritan must have considered the cost and benefits of his action. The benefits are the joy and satisfaction of assisting someone in need, and the cost are the guilt and regrets of not assisting. This represents a clear case of altruism, as it was done pro bono, without expectation of reciprocity. However, James Buchanan argued that while this is expedient in some cases, it comes with some problems in today's world. The Samaritan's dilemma is a dilemma that is faced by people who provide support for others. This is particularly useful as parents provide support for their children and spouses, and spouses also provide support for each other. While assistance that is given can be very useful for people who are in genuine need of economic assistance by offering them timely help, there are possibilities of the gifts and assistance to also have unintended effects of encouraging the recipients to become dependent on charity in the long run. The decision of whether to help people in need or not is the Samaritan dilemma. This is a basic issue that is prevalent in families, either when considering giving between parents and children, or among siblings, or among spouses. If care is not taken, dependents, whether spouses or children, within the family can become less productive and entirely depend on the altruists within the family, leading to less efficient outcomes. Hence, the altruist must make his choices in such a way that it gives help only family members that are in need of serious help, while simultaneously taking steps to discourage slothfulness and dependence on charity. Furthermore, the idea is that within the parent-child relationship, altruism can lead to less efficient outcomes, especially if the children choose not to consider the selflessness of their parents, and they go ahead to act selfishly, as well as fail to internalize the consequences of their action. This therefore yield negative consequences to other members of the family. This result was coined by Gary Becker as the rotten kid theory. This has also been extended to the fact that we may not just have rotten kid within family setup, we can also have rotten spouse. When a receiving spouse acts selfishly and does not consider the well-being of the entire family. Studies have also been conducted to show that transfers from husbands to housewives and vice versa are not often altruistic in nature, but most times are fraught with reciprocity. In many cases, they are actual payment for the spousal labor rendered by housewife or house husbands. And we have found a situation where one member of the spouse has refrained from giving benefits to the other. Economics of Asoebi. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, the issue of altruistic behavior leads to the economics of Asoebi, especially as it's being implemented in Nigeria today. The concept of Asoebi, translated literally as clothes for family members, is from the altruistic belief of the Yoruba families. It is seen as a way of including everyone and leaving no one behind. In its traditional sense, every member of the family is expected to be dressed in Asoebi for an event or ceremony that is regarded important to the family. Because of its inclusiveness and altruistic nature, the cloth is often chosen to be the one that is good enough for the richest member of the family to adorn, and also cheap enough for the poorest member of the family to afford. In its classic sense, the richer member of the family takes responsibility for buying the Asoebi for the poorest members of the family, so that the inclusiveness, resource allocation, and poverty alleviation objective of the Yoruba concept of Asoebi could be achieved. Poorer members of the family always look forward to family events and ceremonies because it was the surest way of acquiring clothes during the year. Rich members of the families bought or subsidized most of the Asoebi. The altruistic perspective is such that the rich members buy for the poorer members without expecting returns for that gesture. In some families, however, the purchase of Asoebi is guided by reciprocity, as poorer members of the family are also expected to be involved in doing the menial jobs during the ceremony. Even when Asoebi is given to the poor, there is a thin line on whether such giving is based on altruism or reciprocity. Given its nature, the Asoebi phenomenon can also suffer from the theory of the dilemma of a good Samaritan and those of the rotten cage. We can also not rule out the incidence of free rider behavior for some of the family members. This is the classic economics of Asoebi. However, as the concept of family changes, and as other tribes who are non-Yorubas become involved, the principles behind the concept of Asoebi became blurred and has changed. And as a result, Asoebi for most family events is now regarded as an investment. The Asoebi concept has moved from its altruistic objective of intra-household reallocation of resources from the rich to poor members of the family and has become an investment for the highest bidder. Recent experiences have shown that the celebrant today chooses the Asoebi to emphasize exclusivity, selfishness, and investment. It is no longer inclusive for the family. It has become exclusive. It is now a cloth for those who can afford and who are regarded as highest bidder. Apart from the name that is retained as Asoebi, cloth for the family, it is now an investment idea for anybody, whether that person is a family member or a stranger. The process of intra-household transfer that ensures survival of the families, poverty reduction, and welfare-enhancing actions of the Yorubas have been eroded as we move from the consumption and welfare-enhancing function of Asoebi to the investment function. It is no longer a pro bono gesture, and it is no longer uncommon to have people adorning Asoebi clothes for the family when they have no specific link with that family. It has become an investment idea for which large financial return is expected. Conclusion. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my research work on the family has focused on revealing that economics should not be just associated with money, finances, trade, and exchange rates. But I have tried to show that economics is more than that. It is about the economics way of thinking, that is considering costs and benefits of various actions, choosing the options where benefits outweigh the costs. While the status of families may be well known to us now, the family has a future that is peculiar and uncertain. The structure of the economics of family can also be weird and awkward as we move into the future. I am excited that even after this professorial chair in economics, my future is well cut out for me in the field of economics of the family. Some of the issues that will dictate the future of the families include the fact that families will be at the center of the Sustainable Development Goals. Hence, a rich agenda is emerging on the relationship between family, economics, and the attainment of the SDGs. Mr. Vice Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, you might be wondering if we are trying to reduce family essentials to economics. Not exactly. Families go beyond economics. If there is no economics, there will still be families. It might be awkward to think of the possibility of applying economics principle to the issue of mothers and fathers, as well as daughters and sons. However, this is where economics is peculiar, as it applies to every issue, where decisions have to be made, and where costs and benefits have to be compared in order to choose the benefits over the costs. My research over the years has taught me that if we must make sense of the different ways in which families behave and make something out of their lives, economics becomes very essential. Economics suggests that the success and failure of families goes beyond personal efforts and luck. The understanding and application of the correct economics way of thinking contributes to a very large extent to either successful or failed outcome in the family. Acknowledgements. I give glory to the Lord Almighty, the immortal, invisible, and the whole knowledgeable and wise God, the most blessed, most glorious, the ancient of the days. I am that I am, the beginning and the end, the upholder of the family and the faithful custodian of families. Great art thou, Jehovah, mighty in power. Your understanding has no limits. I appreciate you now and always. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to publicly acknowledge some of the people who have played pivotal role in my life. However, before I do that, let me put up a caveat. You cannot have everybody here and mention everybody's name. So let me start by saying that I appreciate everybody that has come to this inaugural lecture. If I have not mentioned your name, I apologize for the omission, as it is not intentional. So let me start by thanking my parents, late Deacon Chief Emmanuel Oladele Olaniyan and Anna Oyefunke Olaniyan, for their labor of love. Thank you for the sacrifices for me and my siblings. I still remember with nostalgia that each time any one of us had challenges passing WASCO level completely, your response was always, "Omoti oku fail. Atuko lorwe, oya lotan ruedi." Only God knows how many times you have paid for WASFI for your children. Thank God the end justifies the means. I thank my siblings and their spouses for their undiluted love and support. Jonathan and Fumi Ohiria, Yinka Mbumi Adegboye, Bimbo Anshola Olaniyan, Steve and Riri Adekombi, Lawe and Biodun Olaniyan, Ayo and Yemisi Olaniyan, Tude and Nike Olaniyan. What cannot express my gratitude for your support at various levels of my education. I remember perfectly the love and struggles we enjoyed together while we were growing up. And just like the Lijadu sisters sang some year back, if there is reincarnation, I would love to go back to the same home where I was born. Yes, baby, I will do. Yes, baby, I will do. I wish to thank most sincerely the family of Chief and Dickness Olagbesoni and their children for being strong pillars to our family. I thank all my nieces, nephews, aunties, uncles, cousins, grandparents, and grandchildren. I thank God for all my teachers from primary school to university level, in the Department of Economics and in the Department of Educational Management. I still appreciate my PhD thesis professor, Professor Sam Olofin, for supervising my PhD thesis. I appreciate Professor Inaugural for employing me as an assistant lecturer in the Department of Economics, even without writing an application letter. I remember the day I went to a staff. They told me when they gave me employment, and the secretary said, "Well, we have a problem here. I think we have lost your application letter." I didn't tell them that I didn't write any. thank Honorable Ademola for employing me as a lecturer at Ogun State University in 1995. I also thank late Professor Ekpeyong and Professor Fidelis Ogumike for employing me as a research assistant after my MSc degree in 1994. I thank Professor Afekena Jerome, through whom I first heard the term economics of the family. When I told Jerome in 1998 that I was getting married, he asked me, Laure, have you considered the economics of marriage? I went back to Kennedy Library to check the literature, and I was surprised at the enormity of the literature of that concept. Thanks, sir, for not just being a member of my thesis supervision committee, but also for unknowingly shaping the course of my research. I thank Professor Shoyibo, who is the most incredible optimist that I've ever known. He never sees the bad side of anything, and at times I get worried on why he does not see the bad side of things. I thank Professor Felicia Okumadewa as an uncle teacher, advisor, supporter, and mentor, all rolled into one. He assisted me in satisfying one of my childhood fantasies, which was to travel around Nigeria. He gave me a consultancy that made me drove my Volvo 740 GL to 31 states of this country. It was not just driving around Nigeria that was happy, but I also benefited monetarily. That's why I was happy traveling around. Prof, thank you very much. And I know he's around now. He came from Abuja. He also facilitated my sabbatical year at NAPEP, which was comforting and made me see how the public sector works in this country. At NAPEP, I appreciate Dr. Samuel Fasheyi and Mrs. Shiambola. Thank you. I thank various organizations that have been involved in funding my research. I thank all my research associates, co-authors in my different publications, and I tried to count them, and I found out that I had 215 co-authors. I didn't know they were that much. I acknowledge all my past and current MPhil and PhD students for providing the stimuli to delve into some very interesting issues in the discipline. I still appreciate and thank late Dr. Dipo Busari, I thank all my friends, including but not limited to Olanrewaju, Benga Fashanu. Benga Fashanu is also here from Canada. Thank you very much for coming. Kunle Oladapo, Uyi Adebayo, Kola Olatubosun, Shola Adediran. My MSc study group, comprising of Samuel Uyemi, Tude Adayende, Boyego Yeranti, and Rasak Adefabi, were the reason why I was able to complete my MSc thesis. At a point in time, I decided in our hall, I packed my bag and I said I was going. And they said, why? I said, well, I'm taking 8 courses and I can't understand any of them. So I said, I'm going. They said, what about? I said, you know, I have an excuse. My first degree is educational management. I will blame Kola and Fash for changing my application from educational management to economics and then reapply for my educational management next year. So the two of them, all of them begged me, and they said, stay. It was until years later that Tude Adayende told me that he was also afraid that he would have abandoned the program if I had left. I thank the 1983-88 set of the Polytechnic Ibadan Iri Satellite Campus. They are hereby acknowledged, and all of them, I know many of them are here. My period at today was probably the best I had during my schooling years. I appreciate Mr. Tunde Ogubanke and the Rua County Club. I thank the Executive Governor of Oyo State for appointing me the Chairman Governing Council of the College of Education Lalate. I thank the immediate past Speaker, Oyo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Mike Adiemo, for nominating me to the Governor. May his soul rest in perfect peace. I acknowledge the support of Oyo State SSG, the Commissioner of Education, the Special Advisor on Education, for the support that they have given us as a governing council. And I know the Honorable Commissioner of Education for your state, Professor Adeni Olufela, is also seated here. Thank you, sir. And others too. Thanks Thanks to the entire congregation of Apata Baptist Church, under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Yepodedo, as well as Ebita Baptist Church Eroa, under the pastoral leadership of Reverend Dr. Edi Ojedayo, I appreciate the spiritual support of Reverend Emo Akitayo, Reverend Ademola, Reverend Olaniyan, Reverend Ola Idowu, and others. Furthermore, I appreciate the love, prayers, and friendship of all the members of Omogungbala Family Society. I thank all the vice chancellors that I've worked with. I thank, including Professor Adewale and Professor Olayinka, and all the deputy DVCs that had overseen SESTEF since I became director, Professors Aderito, Ademola, and Professor Bemioke. I appreciate Professor Adigwan Agbaje, who was my dean when I served as a dean undergraduate. I recognize and appreciate the SESTEF family, coordinators, staff, facilitators, and students. I acknowledge the leadership of Professor Labode Pokuola as the first director of the center. I acknowledge those who read the initial drafts of the inaugural lecture, including Emeritus Professor Ejide, Professor Shoibo, Ogunkola, Professor Ezenwokosha, Professor Oni, Professor Bengadedeji, Professor Adewi, as well as Dr. Spolayowo and Hola Shende. I specifically recognize and acknowledge our traditional ruler and leader, the Royal Highness, the Imperial Highness Oba Samuel Adebola, the Eleruwa of Erua, Oba Akindele I. Thank you very much. Let me publicly acknowledge that I didn't come to you to invite you. But today, I was surprised when I received the call that you were on your way. I thank you very much. I appreciate it, sir. He is here with his chiefs. I thank all the chiefs. I thank everybody. The Lord Almighty will continue to bless you. He will bless the kingdom. He will bless the town, and He will never leave you alone. I also appreciate the Are of Ofiki, who is not here, but the Olori is here. Thank you very much. I recognize and acknowledge the entire Olaniyan and Abiona dynasties of Erua. I cannot wish to be I cannot wish to be part of any better family. I also sincerely thank the Adedeji clan of Bogo for approving that I can be the adopted member of the Adedeji family. Daddy and mommy, Papa Fola Shole, and Mama Olateju Adedeji, thank you very much. I appreciate you. My children, Mopelola Aduke, Olabanji Ayinde, Oluwafolabomi Akanbi, Oluwafikwayomi Ishola, ẹ̀yin lọmọ erin òkàwọ̀n, ọmọ erin Fọláyagi, ọmọ pàǹtí ajé ṣọ̀wọ́n ajé ni bàbá tẹ́nitẹ́ni, ọmọ ibú owó tó sùn kóòrùn tó wò, tó sùn kóòrùn tó wọ̀, a lè ṣe kúkú bí àgbàlagbà, ọmọ àgbòrò bí òjò. This is your day. Thank you for being wonderful children that I can be proud of. I believe you are made for wonders and signs, and they shall be pleasurable ones. My father, before he died, he told me that if you have a wife who have children for you, and the children resembles you, thank and appreciate her always. Now to my co-pilots in the family plane. Adefunke, Aderoju, Arike. I appreciate you for agreeing to be my wife and mother of my children. She always taunted me that I didn't toast her. Kola Olaiwola and Ipo Pusari toasted her for me. So today, I will ask you, do you want to be my wife? Thank you for accepting to use our family as a guinea pig to implement economics of the family. Your hard work, love, support, and prayers for our family is incomparable. More importantly, I appreciate the peace of mind that you have given me in the last 20 years that we have been married. Your case confirms the adage that behind every successful man is a woman, I can attest that behind this story is your solid support. Thank you. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished family members, ladies, for honoring me with your presence and patience. God Almighty will honor you too. Stay blessed.